suffered the most, I'm sure.
So, hi, I'm Sherry, Alan Harris's mom, and I think Alan probably knows practically everyone in this room, and if you know him, you know he's got a heart as big as all outdoors. But when John called me to ask me if I would say a few words, my first thought to myself was, I tell people all over the country all the time about how wonderful McShin is and how much they helped us. And surely I could come to a McShin event and talk about how great we are for them. So I wouldn't be standing here today if our family hadn't been faced with addiction. And during the course of trying to deal with that and learn more about the disease of addiction, which we didn't know a lot about at the time, we sought a lot of resources, family counseling, FA meetings, lots of literature, things like that. And in the course of that, we heard about McShin. And one thing I want to point out is when I say McShin, I mean like the people at McShin. The McShin Foundation would not be the McShin Foundation without the people. John, Peter, Frank, Adam, Honesty, Daniel, Mackenzie, all the great people in McShin have really become very dear to our hearts. So, we reached a point in time. Alan was 18 at the time. I couldn't just shove him in the car and bring him down here. We reached a point where we gave Alan an ultimatum. He was out of the house, and he could choose the lifestyle that he was living at that time, or he could go to this place we heard about called McShin. And about an hour later, when he realized that I was serious, he said, okay, I'll go. And it was a Sunday afternoon. I'd already called and talked to Honesty a couple weeks before, and so she'd taken some notes down about him. And I called Sunday afternoon, and John said, come on down, we'll have a welcoming party here. But the point there is that Alan had made the choice himself. And we didn't make it for him. We were just through. We learned to stop enabling and being codependent and things like that. He was going to be on his own. He was going to have to make his own choices from that point forward. And when we got to McShin, dang if there wasn't a welcoming party. Let me tell you, the room was full of people. It was John, Adam, Frank, and a whole bunch of people. So John's commitment was clear from the very first minute. The peer recovery approach was clear from the very first minute. We didn't even get through the doorway and everybody was hugging us. But it was clear that John was very serious too. When he looked Alan straight in the eyes and said, you're not going to stay here if you don't want to be here. And Alan said he did. So I left with a lot of renewed hope that day, knowing that I probably wouldn't see my son for a while. The renewed hope didn't last very long because we had a really long winter and a really long spring. As a matter of fact, Alan spent about a month in John's shed, and then John got tired of him, and I think he went Daniel. This was in the winter with no heat. It was not a lot of fun. Every time Alan called me, John's instructions to me were hang up the phone, tell him you love him, hang up the phone, and then call me. And I did, because Alan would say, Mom, I can't last another night in the shed. And I would say, I love you, son, goodbye. And then I would call John, and John would go, thanks for letting me know, he just earned himself another week in the shed. What am I doing to my son? But that's what I was thinking about on the way down here. I prepared these notes so I wouldn't forget anything, because I wanted to make certain points. But on the way down here, I realized there was one thing that wasn't in my notes. What's the single, solitary, most important thing that McShin did for our family and for Alan? They taught him that life's about choices, and you have to learn the consequences of your choices. And if you make bad choices, the consequences are not good. And they instilled in Alan the desire to make good choices. So we never gave up. And now Alan is not in what you call long-term recovery. but I have a black key tag. Everybody knows what black means.
2 years clear.
So he celebrated 2 years last July, and one day at a time, we're on the road to another anniversary and another celebration. So I was sitting back there eating and looking at the banner, and it says, "Saving Lives and Healing Families." And I am the best demonstration standing here of McShin really doing that. That's the best motto they can have. They saved my son's life, and they helped our family heal. And I will be eternally grateful to them. I've seen the work they do in the community. I've seen now over the years the alumni that come into the McShin program, and I've seen some of them move on already to be married and have children, and it's just really, really fantastic to see all that good stuff happening. So I don't think our family would be where we are today, and we're in a good place if it weren't for McShin. I'm extremely proud to be associated with them, and I'm incredibly proud of my son.
His daughter was not abandoned, okay? We were worried about that for a minute. We'll stick with the ladies. Christine.
Woo! I'm an addict named Christina. I'll start off a little bit by telling y'all how I got here. I'm not from Richmond, Virginia. I am from Mobile, Alabama. In 2006, I had gotten out of treatment, and actually my cousin, who was involved with a man that was affiliated with McShin named Mike T, they had called me and asked me if I wanted to come speak to some of the women in the recovery house through McShin, and I told them, well, I really can't because I just had a relapse. So she said, well, you know, you've tried everything there, why don't you try, you know, a geographical change, why don't you come here? And I was like, Virginia? No, I'm not coming there, I don't know anybody there. She was like, just try it for 6 months. And you know, I was very scared, and you know, I was like, no, just let me think about it. And Mike said, no, if you'll think about it, you'll never come. And I was like, okay, just give me an hour or two. So, I thought about it, talked to my family. I had 2 young children at the time, so I was really scared to leave them, but I knew that it was the best thing that I needed to do, because if I didn't do anything, then I was gonna probably lose them for good. So I decided that I was gonna go, and my mom and I drove down here one day, and it took about 14 and a half hours. I was very tired, and when we got here, John was waiting for me at McShin, and I was very scared, and he was very warm and loving. I cried, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this, and he was like, you can do this. If you really want your life, back together, you can do it, and so he went over, he went over a little bit of stuff with me, but because it was so late, the next day, he went over all the rules and stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta live with all these women in this little bitty house, and I'm gonna go crazy, there's no way I can do this. It was like, you can do it. So I did, and I never even heard of Narcotics Anonymous until I came through McShin, and he introduced me to NA and a whole bunch of other different activities keep me busy, and I never really knew unconditional love from my, I had it from my family, but I didn't really realize what unconditional love meant until I came through McShin. He planted the seed in me. He was tough, but it was all tough love, and after I was in McShin for about 6 months, and I knew I didn't have any work or anything like that, but he actually gave me work at the office and kept me busy until I actually got a job. And there's so many things that he did for me that I couldn't have done anything without him, helping me. And I was there for about 6 months, and then I decided I was going to move out. And he was skeptical about it at first, because he didn't know if I was going to make it or not. But he said, as long as you keep doing what you're doing, you'll be fine. And I decided to move out on my own, and I got my own place. And later on, I met my boyfriend, and then we got married. And 2 years later, I got my kids back. And I'm so grateful for NA and McShin. They've helped me more than they know, and I don't see them as much as I should because I'm very busy. I'm a mom and a wife, and I work full-time on over 60 hours a week, and it's crazy, but, you know, if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here. And as of October, October 18, 2006, I had 5 years clean. So.
On the way here, I was trying to get my thoughts together so I could say something that's real connected and coherent, straight in the line. But by the time I get here, it never fails, I go blank. So I just do what the people in McShin taught me and the people in recovery taught me, just to keep it simple and honest. What got me to McShin was other people still believed in me, even though I was giving it on myself. When I got out of the treatment center in 2006, I didn't know what to do. I was scared to leave the treatment center. So the other people made decisions for me. They said, we got a place for you to go. It's in Richmond, Virginia. It's called the McShin Foundation. What's required of you is just go there and follow directions, and everything else will be all right. And that was the simple direction that I received at McShin. Because what surprised me the most is I didn't know that recovery was so big and powerful. Did not know it. I was so self-centered, I was just thinking about me and my problems and help me. What I learned at McShin was this is a peer-to-peer organization. One added help on another. And that took me out of isolation into participation. That was the first thing McShin did for me. The second thing was to teach me the basic, simple tools of living. Be responsible for myself. And then, in return, show other people how to be responsible for themselves. And together, we move forward. As a result, I stayed at McShin for 4 years, 2006 to 2010. Now, from the outside looking in, they're like, wow, he must be really sick. Here's the thing. I was kind of, I said, yeah, what gives? Why am I here so long? It's just like cookies in the oven. You don't want to take them out before they're ready. So, I stayed there. That's right. As a McShin alumni, now I get to see that magic of recovery happen over and over again. When a newcomer comes in beaten and downtrodden and sad and hopeless, we welcome them in. And we tell them it'll be all right. The first thing we give them is hope that things can change. Now, if they see for themselves that things change, that's when the miracle stops being a theory and it becomes real in action. That's what I saw in John and Peter and Frank and Honesty and Daniel. I saw recovery in action. I saw an example of what I could be like if I did what they did. I wanted my life back. I was tired of groveling, asking for change, looking for cigarette butts out in front of 7-Eleven. I was done. I wanted to be human again. And what McShin did, over time, they told me it's not overnight, it's over time. The first year, I started to feel like, yeah, maybe this can't happen for me. The second year, I became more involved. And this is where recovery shifted from pause to drive. I got involved. I got a home group in another organization, and I became like house manager of the McShin housing that I stayed in. It put me into the front line of this thing. I could no longer isolate in the bedroom and close my door. I had to be in the forefront. And when the newcomers started to ask me questions about what should they do, I was like, man, why are you asking me anything? They said, we see something in you that you don't even see in yourself yet. So keep coming, and it'll be revealed to you that we do recover. So if you do, and you're struggling, and you're teetering on the fence, you don't know whether or not you're in the right place, keep coming back until you're sure. And let us love you until you can love yourself. And then you'll know for sure that it works. Like I know for sure it works. When I got here, I was kind of doubtful too. Maybe, maybe not. But now as I stand in front of you, I'm 100% on the winning side, right? Fighting a good fight, a fight that actually win. And that's carrying the message of recovery. And what McShin has done for my life is like, you know how my mom used to keep a baby book, and she had every milestone in my life, she would put a little in there. When I graduated high school, got the diploma in there. When I started driving, got a copy of the license in there. Another milestone in my life is 2006, when I was introduced to McShin Foundation. Before McShin, my life was a certain way. After McShin, my life is a new way. That is very monumental in my life. And here's the hope. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm going to be in it today. I'm not going to hide away from it. I learned my lesson at McShin that running doesn't work. Standing together, we face the world clean. Together, anything is possible. Look at this. Take a look around. This didn't happen in my life before McShin. This type of fellowship and communion. I was by myself, and I keep coming to let me share this with you, then I'm going to wrap it up. In my recovery, I read this poem. It was by this guy named, I think he was an alcoholic, Bill W., a long time ago. And it's called Standing by the Door. It's how he got into recovery way back in like the 20s and 30s. It's called Standing by the Door. I don't remember word for word, because it's a long poem, a long story. But the gist of it is this. He stood by the door so he could welcome in the newcomers, the ones who are beating blindly on the wall looking for a way in. He's standing there by the door so he can welcome them in and show them where the love is and where the hope is. And I said, yeah, maybe I can be like that. Those are big shoes to fill, try to be like Bill W. But it gives me a goal to strive for. And that's what I get at McShin, as a McShin alumni. I'm still involved. I'm not in the recovery house, but I'm still connected to that spirit of helping each other. And with that, thanks for letting me talk.
My name is Braxton Collier. My wife and I are parents of an addict. We found out in 2002 that our college-educated son was a drug addict. I thought we had made it. So first of all, I'm going to tell you that addiction does not recognize college diplomas, and it does not recognize W-2 forms. What I do know about addiction today is it is a disease. And like any other disease, there's not a big cure for it today. We have to work at it. Now, what I've also learned, and I mean to offend absolutely no one here, so please don't take offense to what I'm getting ready to say. Some of the traits of an addict is that there's little or no structure in their life. There's little or no motivation for anything other than finding the drug. They're pathological liars. They're masters of manipulation. And they'll sell their soul for drugs or alcohol. What McShin offers is structure, motivation, housing, education, support, opportunities for a full and complete life, Christian education and support, the 12-step program, and much, much, much more. It also offers support and education for the family. This disease is a family disease. It will rip a family completely in two. It almost did it to us. From the time we found out in 2002 until 2006, I thought I could fix it, because I thought I could fix anything. Well, in 2006, I was Webster Dictionary's poster child for the word enable. And I'm sure many of you feel the same way. What I have learned, or one of the things that I have learned, is nothing changes if nothing changes. You got to walk different, talk different, and act different. It's people, places, and things have to change. And if you will make those changes, and if the addict will make those changes, and get involved in a program, and live that program for the rest of your life, you can overcome this addiction. And the family can as well. Our son, unfortunately, relapsed after 5 years of being clean. As John said, I don't even know where he is right now. Somewhere, I assume, in the streets of Baltimore. We're scared to death. Almost didn't come tonight. But we said, no, we have to be there. I am personally fully committed to the McShin Foundation and what they have to offer. All I can tell you is take it one day at a time, one step at a time. Recovery will come. Thank you.